Hey everyone, I'm Kevin, owner of Johnson's HVAC Solutions. Today I want to take a little time to talk to you about heat pump systems. We have a lot of heat pump systems here in the South, and especially in Middle Tennessee where we're located. This might save you a service call down the road. We get a lot of calls of cold air coming from the registers and auxiliary heat showing on the thermostat. This could be a problem, but it may not be. And I want to talk to you about how they work so maybe you can understand a little better, maybe save you a little money down the road. So here are some diagrams of how it works. In order to understand how heat pumps work, we first must understand how air conditioning works. There's a common misconception that we cool a home by blowing cold air into it, and that's not the case. We cool and condition a home by removing heat from the air that's inside of the home. As you can see in this diagram, the air comes through the return vent where your filter is. It's pulled by the blower motor. The air then moves across the evaporator coil, which is filled with refrigerant. The evaporator coil absorbs the heat, around 20 degrees of that heat if it's working properly, and recirculates that air back into the home. The refrigerant that absorbed the heat is now pulled out into the condensing unit outside, and the condenser fan removes the heat out of that refrigerant by pulling the air out through the top. I'm explaining this in simple terms. It's more scientific than that, but I want to make sure you can understand it. We need to remove the heat from the home to cool it properly. And that brings us to how our heat pump works. Again, I'm going to be explaining this in pretty basic terms, but essentially, we have a reversing valve inside of the system that changes the flow of the refrigerant to completely reverse it from how it works in air conditioning. Instead of removing heat from the home, we're now removing heat from our outside air and bringing that into the home. This is pretty effective down to about 35 degrees. Some people would argue 32. I like 35 degrees. But that's why we have auxiliary heat. Most of the time, auxiliary heat is a set of electric heat strips. I like to describe it as a red hot spring that gets 240 volts and heats up the air as the air blows across them. Now, it doesn't run all the time. It does pull a lot of electricity, but it's very necessary for a heat pump system. In most cases, when you see aux on your thermostat, there's no reason to be alarmed. Most thermostats are set to let the heat pump make up the last 1 to 2 degrees of your desired temperature. So if you leave your thermostat set on the same temperature all the time, you're not going to see a lot of auxiliary heat use. But if you're turning the heat down before you go to work and cranking it back up when you come home, you are going to use a lot of auxiliary heat. And if the temperatures are in the 30s or lower, you're also going to see a lot of auxiliary. When the auxiliary heat is running, it's going to feel significantly warmer to the skin than the normal heat pump. We have to remember, the heat pump air is using the heat from the air outside. The cooler it is outside, the cooler the air is going to be coming out of your registers. Our body temperature is 98.6 degrees. So heat pump air coming out at 90 degrees, while warm, will not feel warm to us. You have to keep that in mind. If it's 42 degrees outside, and you've got your heat set at 70, and it's 70 degrees in your home, the heat is working properly. So again, I explained that in very simple terms. We could have talked about refrigerant changing from a liquid to a gas as it goes throughout the system, but that's not important for your understanding. I hope this may have answered some of the heat pump questions that you could have and alleviate some of your concerns. If you need us, we're here. We would love to help. Thank you for taking time to watch the video. We hope you have a warm winter, and thank you. God bless.